Hi everyone. So this week in our further food for thought, I want to pick up on something that I talked about on Sunday. You remember we were looking at the story of the Centurion in Matthew 27 verses 45 to 54. But in the first bit of that passage, it talks about the land being plunged into darkness. And for Matthew, the writer of this gospel, and the people he was writing to, who were predominantly Jewish Christians, that would remind them about one of the plagues, the ninth plague, when the Israelites were enslaved in Egypt and Moses was going to Pharaoh to try and get them to be set free. The ninth plague was a plague of darkness, and that preceded the last plague, which was the plague of the death of the firstborn of all the Egyptian families, what the Jews then called the Passover, because this curse passed over the Israelite families. And this would just be pointing to something that is quite significant, and that is Jesus being the fulfillment of the Passover. So all I want you to do in life groups this week is just to reflect on that a little bit. You might want to read the story of the first Passover in Exodus chapter 12, and just to think a little bit about what are the parallels between that Passover story and the story of Jesus' death. You might want to think about some of the things that they eat in the Passover meal: bread and wine and lamb and bitter herbs. You might want to think about those things and what do they mean and what do they tell us. You might want to read the story of the Last Supper, the Passover meal, in Luke 22, just to help remind you of some of the things that Jesus did with his disciples. And then just use that as a springboard to share communion again, to share that meal that reminds us of all that Jesus has done. And please take time to give thanks together for all that Jesus has done for you. Use the symbols and the pictures that were in the Passover to remind you of what those things are. It's really good in Holy Week, as we look forward to celebrating Jesus' death and resurrection, to be able to share communion together, the shared meal that all of us who are followers of Jesus can share. I hope you have a great evening together. God bless.